Dude, 100%. And I think we need to find a good balance between striving to achieve our goals whilst also doing positive things that enhances relationships and getting all of that done in the hectic world and life that we live in right now.
Yeah.
So the big challenge is that usually distractions might be something like just spending hours and hours on Xbox, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but maybe try and limit that time, because surely that doesn't serve any of your goals. Like, you don't want to become a pro Xbox gamer by the end of the year.
Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to the RLT podcast, where we share some real life tools, tips and tricks to help you not only discover but also reach your ultimate goals. What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to a brand new year, I think. Well, sort of, a brand new episode of the Real Life Tips podcast. This is season 2. I'm your host, Mono.
You're joined by Leon, and it's so good to be back in front of the microphone, man. It feels like forever since we've last recorded, man. Jeez, it's nice to be back. As Marnie said, we decided to take a bit of a break from the first season. We achieved our goals. I think everything we set out to do with that season, we did so successfully. And we've taken some time off, man. Some time to think about the podcast, what we want to change, what we want to improve. Obviously, every single change we've made is in interest of the podcast and you guys as listeners. And we've been listening to you.
Absolutely, we have. And one of the changes that we're going to be making, we went through all of the statistical information and all that, and we found that you guys enjoy the shorter episodes a bit more. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because we're in this brand new world now where we don't really have as much time as we used to when we were driving around and commuting to work and back. So we're going to cut our episodes a little bit shorter. We're going to half it, actually. We're going to only do a half an hour for each and every single episode. And this is our goal. But sometimes we might stray from that goal a little bit because, it might be a heavy topic, or it might be something that we really want to get the message across and make sure that that is actionable information that we can actually pass on to our listeners, to you guys out there in the audience.
Yeah.
What else are we going to be doing in this new season, Leon?
Yes, man. So we've been busy behind the scenes doing all of our back-end stuff like the website, our logo, some of our materials, etc. So we're busy freshening and tightening those things up, keeping it with the times, keeping it relevant and modern. And we've got a complete lineup of very interesting topics. And I think the 30-minute thing is really going to help. You can now squeeze this episode in between breakfast and getting in the car. You can squeeze it in before bedtime. You can squeeze it in lunch hour without taking the whole lunch. It's just a much more convenient time for people to kind of squeeze in this new busy lifestyle that we lead. I also find that a lot of my mates say that, they're working from home still, so they don't have that 1 hour commute time in the mornings and stuff to squeeze in a full hour episode. So yes, I think the biggest change is going to be the pace of the episode, the way that we condense the information to still bring you the same kind of value and information whilst freshening up everything, modernizing our look and feel, the vibe on the website, staying and keeping the website up to date with new blog material and things like that. So yeah, very, very excited to kind of almost relaunch version 2.0 of the RLT podcast.
Yeah, super stoked about that, Leon. And with that being said, I think it's time for us to jump straight into it. We've got a tight cutoff now. So let's get back into today's
we need to get used to this 30 minutes.
Absolutely. And without further ado, today's topic is all about picking your distractions. Leon, we thought it best to hit it off with this topic in particular, because it's a brand new year, right? Because as we always go through this little exercise that we call setting our New Year's resolutions or our New Year's goals or whatever it is that we want to accomplish for the new year or for the year to come, I think it's the perfect time for us to kick off the brand new season with this, right? Because why? We know that we're always going to get hit with distractions. We've learned this year in and year out, right? Is that we set our goals, we get distracted, we get sidetracked, and then come end of the year, come December time, we review those goals and we're like, oh shucks, we only have about a couple of weeks left to try and accomplish this. And then we sort of just scrap it off or we carry it over to the brand new year. I'm super, super guilty of this. I've done this in the past so many times. I actually had a look at my goals, Leon, and and not to be funny, but I've been carrying over those goals or a lot of those goals for 3 years now that I haven't accomplished them.
I'm so guilty of the same. I think probably most people listening.
Yeah, and it's crazy, right? And I have to ask myself, like, why is that? Am I getting distracted? What's happening? And then I realized when I did some introspection that I'm picking the wrong distractions. And I say picking because it's a choice. It's intentional. When I decide, and we've chatted about this in our previous season as well, is that we're making a choice to go and sit down and watch TV. We're making a choice to sacrifice what type of sacrifice we want to make. Are we sacrificing time? And for what, right? Or are we just doing it just to sort of like break away and break free from our hustle and bustle daily lives, right? And absolutely that's necessary, right? But what we want to chat about today is looking into those distractions and seeing how can we just clean them up a bit. Not saying get rid of watching TV, get rid of social media, get rid of all of the bad things in your life. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't obsess over gym and all that. What we're saying is how can we look at our distractions and see if we can clean them up a bit. See if we can align them or realign them or adopt new distractions that can actually fit into our annual goals, that can fit into what we want to achieve this year.
Yeah, dude, I think it's a very interesting angle. I mean, if you think about it, we set out goals every year that we want to try and achieve. And probably by the time this episode airs, most people have already given up on some of those goals, right? Especially the health ones. I know the gyms are always full in January. February, it drops half.
Yeah.
And then by March, there's almost like 20% of the people left. And I say that being guilty myself. But at the end of the day, if you start thinking about it differently, and that's what I really loved about this episode and the idea of this episode, if you can start introducing distractions that serves your goals in a way that you don't procrastinate on those goals, you don't set them out further in the future, but you actually find things, hobbies, activities, friendships, relationships, any kind of distractions that distracts any of those goals, and introduce interesting and fun things that will actually aid in those achieving of those goals instead of actually being something completely different. So maybe it's time to give a couple of examples. I think I'll head up with one, right? And I'm a family man, so I'm going to come from a family perspective. So I think one of the things that I'm guilty of, and I think most, let's say, professional men with a career and so on are very, very guilty of this, is that we always seem to be lagging behind when it comes to good quality family time, and setting aside some time, whether it's around the dinner table, whether it's around just playing at night with your kids, or setting up some time with your children or your wife or whatever, to find distractions that aid that. So one of the things that I went and did, and I said, some of these days I'm just so tired after school and after all the chores and after all the errands have been run and the work has been done and completed. I just don't even have the energy to play with my kids, and I'm like, I say that in as exposed and as embarrassing as that might sound. But what I realized is I enjoy certain things a lot. I enjoy board games. I enjoy doing quizzes and those kind of things, and being interactive and playing games. And I decided, listen, I wonder if my children aren't the right age to start playing board games. And guess how quickly they picked it up. It's unbelievable how fast they grasped. We started simple. We started with Uno. And I was like, geez, these guys are killing me on Uno. Let's introduce something more skillful, And at the end of the day,
there's two sides to that coin, right? Like on the one end, you're spending time with your kids, but on the other end, it's such a frustrating game that you might actually end up not enjoying the time that you spend with your kids because you get so frustrated with them. So
exactly. So it can work or not work, but at the end of the day, we ended up settling on a couple of games that we enjoy playing as a family. So now I'm achieving two things. I'm bonding with my family. The entire family is involved around the table playing cards or playing whatever. And I'm enjoying that time because it's relaxing me. It's something that I would be doing or would enjoy doing, whether it was for the kids or not. Whether it was to serve my batteries being flat and wanting to relax or not. It's something that I would have liked to do regardless of whether I'm tired, of whether it's a purpose I'm trying to serve. So it's just a really win-win situation.
Yeah, see, I love that, Leon, because what we're saying then is that, what is your goal for this year? Is it, do you want to spend more time with your family? Is it, do you want to spend more meaningful time with your family and engage with the kids and everything? On the other end, maybe you want to build stronger relationships. Maybe you want to build stronger relationships with your boss, with your colleagues, with your employees, right? Maybe it's, getting in touch with nature again, going out now that everything's unlocking again and all that, things feel almost normal again, right? Maybe we want to get back in touch with nature. Maybe we want to get back in touch with our physical fitness goals that we've set for ourselves. Maybe just living a little bit better, right? Going out and getting some exercise and things like that. And saying that you don't necessarily want to hardcore focus on this every single day, but what you want to do is adopt these things into the little routines that you have in your life. And that's the beauty behind this, Leon. And I think what I loved about this as well is that so many diets have failed in the past, but the ones who have been successful, and we've chatted about this offline so many times, are the ones where you actually don't just treat it as a diet, but you treat it as a long-term commitment to yourself, to your lifestyle, right? So you make changes in the habits that you have, the daily habits, right? So if you don't, and I think we did an episode on progressive extremism. So if it's true for diets, then why could it not be true for achieving the other goals that you have in life?
Pretty much everything.
Right? Yeah. So exactly, it's looking at your daily routines and saying, if I do want to build stronger relationships with my employees or with my workers or with my managers, my bosses, whoever I work with, right? Maybe I should take up golf, right? Golf isn't for me, but maybe if that's one thing that you want to do, you end up spending so much more time with them and you end up chatting about the business, chatting about the accounts, chatting about everything that goes on. And this is where you build those connections. We've said this over and over again whilst working together for the last couple of years already, is that that's where you build those relationships, right? Maybe take up golfing. Maybe if you want to get in touch with nature again, maybe jogging, working that into your routine, or at least putting it on the calendar for once a month or twice a month, or hiking or mountain biking. That's something that we did. And it's a way for us to not only get in touch with our fitness goals again, but get in touch with nature, get out there, get an excuse to go out there. So we've now made it a habit to go cycling once a month. Yeah. Is that going to change my life? Am I going to look like, I don't know, like Lance Armstrong? Probably not. Probably not, right? Because it's only once a month. But the thing is, it does something to you. It really helps us to achieve that goal. Another great example that I want to touch on, Leon, is fishing. Fishing is something that I was never into. Yeah. As a kid, I hated it. I never understood what the point was until we went fishing together. And that's something that we can use to bond with our friends. If all of your friends have a specific hobby, you can join them in that excursion. You don't have to be a pro at it. You don't have to even enjoy it. For me, it really is just about me spending time with you again, catching up with you. And that's one of the beauties of it. Don't you feel?
Dude, 100%. And I think we need to find a good balance between striving to achieve our goals whilst also doing positive things that enhances relationships and getting all of that done in the hectic world and life that we live in right now.
Yeah.
So the big challenge is that usually distractions might be something like just spending hours and hours on Xbox, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but maybe try and limit that time, because surely that doesn't serve any of your goals. Like, you don't want to become a pro Xbox gamer by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But instead, maybe one of your other things that you really enjoy equally as much as Xbox is, like you said, spending time with friends and making sure that your relationships with friends stay healthy. So yes, go to a nearby pond. I'm sure right around the world, everywhere. I follow a lot of fishing stuff on YouTube, and there's no country that's exempt from fishing. Go get yourself a rod, figure out how to do it. The cool thing about fishing is everyone sucks equally, right? It's literally a hurry up and wait thing. But you spend most of your time next to the fishing pond or lake or whatever it might be, chatting to your mates, laughing, making memories. And those things send you home with so much more positivity and such a longer lasting effect of having done something that actually aids towards proper joy and fulfillment and things like that. And you can once again introduce the family into it, bring your wife with, bring the kids with, have them enjoy everything, being outdoors, getting some fresh air, Getting a different set of clothing that you don't need to button up and like sit on a couch the whole day. Just being a little bit more active and doing some exercise while doing it. Of course, fishing is not the world's best exercise, but I'm assuming it's still better than sitting on a couch watching and binging Netflix. Not like that doesn't have its place. Of course, that can still be done in moderation.
Well, at least you're gaining something out of it, right? And that's what we're saying. And I think that's awesome because... And it's going to be challenging, right? Because changing any existing habit, there's going to be that little resistance that's going to happen when you think about, I should be productive, right? But you can do it in the little things as well. And one of the things that comes to mind, Leon, is your addiction to YouTube, right? You've said so many times that after the day's done and everything, the whole household has gone to bed and all that, you sit down, you go into this rabbit hole of YouTube videos. Sometimes it's researching something new that you want to buy. Most of the times it's just pointless stuff, aimless YouTubers that you follow, right? But it's really saying that if you find yourself exactly, it's really saying that when you find yourself sitting on YouTube, going through your pointless things, maybe work in a video that could teach you something new about the career that you want to pursue or the career that you're already pursuing, right? Maybe just working in one video every here and there. It really comes down to this, right? It's saying that life gets busy, it gets overwhelming, so we all have distractions, and that's absolutely good. But how can we not live extreme and say, let's take life so serious, not have any distractions, but how can we rather introduce our distractions a little bit more, or pick our distractions a little bit more intentionally? And that's the beauty of it, Leon. I think it's time for us to head into the real life
tips. I went and practiced, dude. I did 2 months off from the podcast, and I practiced my beatboxing just for this episode.
It sounds... I wish I could say it sounds so much better, but it kind of sounds like maybe you've improved here and there. I love that. Really cool, Leon. I think I've got maybe a couple of tips, or maybe I've got one tip. I've got one tip, and that's the one thing that's worked for me. But first, hit it off. Tell us, what is your tip or tips, Leon, for this week?
Okay, you're going to put me on the spot first. That's fine. So again, hopefully we don't cross our tips here. So when I decided to take on this episode, I thought to myself, listen, how can we reverse engineer this? So at the end of the day, if you've got your goals in mind, all right, work that back and say, all right, my goal is to lose weight.
Yeah.
Now, instead of saying go sign up for a gym and crunch it out every day for 5 days a week, which we know most people, I'm not talking about a few of the gym bunnies that might be listening to the show that's very religious in the gym. I'm talking about the average bloke and lady out there.
Yeah.
Is going to be able to maybe keep that pace for about 2 months, get tired, then work to like 4 days a week, then eventually maybe get a bit sick, go off for 1 week, come back on, etc. So I'm not saying don't do gym. I'm saying, yes, get the gym membership to fill in to, those times when you want to get a real proper workout in. But maybe introduce something fun, so like you said, mountain biking over weekends, going out, doing a bit of golfing, whatever it is that's physically active that you enjoy, try and incorporate that. So pick distractions and things that's going to keep you away from getting your health goals, but with a fun aspect. I know a couple of my mates enjoy hiking, and I said, geez, I really don't enjoy hiking. Like, why would you want to just go walk in a bush, aimlessly kind of, I don't know. There's just no point. But then I never realized when you do it with them and you're on the track and you're talking and you're joking, it becomes a fun activity I never even knew. And the same goes for anything. If you, for example, say, this year I want to work on my let's say my work environment and work colleagues. We've been isolated for very long. We don't see each other frequently. I only meet the people on Zoom, blah, blah, blah. Like you said, it's a good idea to maybe say, listen, why don't we all go and play some golf? Or let's get together every second weekend at a clubhouse and we spend some time playing poker or something like that, Introduce something that's going to be fun. So it will obviously draw you in because there's a fun aspect to it. But at the end of the day, you are achieving that goal of improving your relationships with your work colleagues. And at the end of the day, those discussions is not just going to improve relationships with work colleagues, it's going to have a spillover effect into your entire career and your well-being at that company, etc. So my tip at the end of the day is basically take the goal and then figure out what can I do to make this goal fun, right?
Yeah.
How can I get to this goal in a fun, sustainable way? You mentioned the way that we do dieting nowadays. I pretty much just went on a diet that's not really extreme because I couldn't keep to extreme diets. It's more of a slight change in eating habits and portion control. And it's fun food, it's nice food, it's not the worst green stuff in the world, and that's going to give you like major results in a short time, but you can never fulfill it for like 2 months. So at the end of the day, take your goals, work them backwards, figure out what can make this goal fun and how can I get there easy. At the end of the day, picking those distractions that you would waste time on, waste your time on stuff that's serving the greater purpose of achieving your goals.
I dig that. That's super, super cool, Leon, because, and it's weird because we didn't plan it, but mine actually follows on top of yours. So I'm really glad because you basically started with how do you isolate what those goals should be? And how do you isolate a way for you to accomplish them that's more sustainable than anything else, right? Because going to the gym, just hitting the gym, joining a diet and sticking it out for as long as possible, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and then you just end up giving up anyways, is not sustainable, right? So how do you identify those goals, isolate them, and make them more sustainable? And to your point as well, my diet, I call it's not really even a diet. I just decided that I'm going to take it 1 meal a day. That's all I'm going to do. Well, not 1 meal a day, more like 1 meal at a time. So if I'm hungry, I can choose. Do I want to quickly grab something, some takeaways and stuff because I don't have enough time to make something? I decided that sure, I'll grab takeaways, but I'm going to go for the healthiest option that I am willing to do or to go for that day.
That's a good idea.
And it's really just taking 1 meal at a time. And that's hopefully going to be a lot more sustaining. So a lot more sustainable.
It's still better than just binging and eating Burger King every time, right?
Of course.
No offense to our Burger King fans and listeners out there.
Not even, I doubt even if they have salad, and that would be very healthy. But anyways, but going for a healthy
salad on every burger. It's called lettuce.
I love that. Great. So my tip, Leon, is a simple one. It's get a weekly planner. And I tell you this because it's all about giving you guys life tips that actually work. And this is something that changed my life. So been through a couple of years, not achieving my goals and stuff. So I decided to get a weekly planner, and it's a fridge magnet. So it's this big weekly planner whiteboard thing that gets stuck on my fridge. It's got the Monday, Tuesday, all the way through to Sunday. And I can actually go and write down with a whiteboard marker what my week is going to look like, right? So now that you've isolated how to make things fun again, go and write them down and make sure that you stick to them. Because remember, you just writing them down and just dropping it into, I don't know,
makes it intentional.
Yeah, dropping it on a digital notepad or writing it down on an actual notepad and leaving it on your desk or in your drawer. You're not going to see it every single day. So I follow my weekly planner religiously every single day. And honestly, it's changed my life because now when I put it on the weekly planner, I've told myself if it's on there, I need to get it done, whether I like it or not. Even if I don't get to it that day, I move it out to the next day. But in this week, I need to get that done, right? So go and get a weekly planner. That is something that really works for me, right? I take, for instance, right, is that one of my goals, like you said, isolate what you want to achieve. For me, it's to read more because I don't get as much time, or maybe I do have enough time. I just haven't gotten around to it, right? So I'll actually go and write down once or twice or 3 times a week time for me to go and read. So I put that as a bullet point, as a task to do for, on a Wednesday night or on a Thursday night, is I want to spend some time reading. And then once that's done, I check it off that list, right? Because then we get that dopamine hits as well, as we spoke about in the previous episodes.
And here's another fun fact for the readers out there. And surely, for the hardcore readers, you probably already know this life hack, right? If you enjoy reading, or maybe you don't enjoy reading, but like, for example, I think Marnu mostly does a lot of reading that's going to aid in progressing in life or in career or in mood or in business books, etc. All right, now the burden of having to consume those kind of books wears heavy on you after a while because most of those books are not necessarily enjoyable, but they do hit on the level of intellectual enjoyability, if that makes any sense, right? But they don't offer dopamine. They don't, for example, give you that ooh, wow, ooh, ha, or something like, it's pretty much like comparing documentaries versus movies, right? So get yourself 2 books, right? That's what I started in December. I get myself a book that I just enjoy, whether it's fictional or crime and investigation, whatever it is that you just really enjoy consuming, and integrate that into your business reading.
Yeah.
This way you can alternate. One night say, listen, I just don't feel like I can get that business book read tonight. Like, I know I have to get some reading in. Say, okay, cool, screw that. Switch over to that fictional book or your Harry Potter or whatever it is that you enjoy. And instead of then saying, geez, I'm just not going to read tonight, and you end up watching Dexter on repeat, at least you're still reading, but you're reading material that you can enjoy.
I love that.
So
That's
it's just
really
a little
cool.
hack
and
that
I'm
I've
glad
realized.
that you mentioned that as well, because reading is so good for a person. You know, and it boosts your vocabulary. You know, you learn new things, new ways of thinking. You find out how other people
Keeps your
think
brain
as well.
sharp.
So yeah,
I think that's the
absolutely,
biggest
exactly.
thing.
It just keeps your brain sharp. So introducing a way for you to actually stay up to date with that. Another one that I did as well now is, I found that my girlfriend and I, we don't really go out and do things. We sit inside the house on weekends, right? And when the weekend arrives, you try and think of ideas and you can't really think. So the pressure is just way too much, and you end up just going out with some friends and having a couple of drinks and feeling really trash the next day, right? So what we started doing is, how can we strengthen our relationship? How can we strengthen our experiences and actually start living life again? As we've got a list on that weekly planner of ours that states, these are all the possible activities that one can do on a weekend. And then we just work those in, every couple of weeks. We just start updating the weekly planner, and we're like, on Saturday, we're going to go go-karting. On Sunday, we're going to go mountain biking, or we're going to go hiking. Or, on Saturday morning, we're going to go on a picnic, and we're going to actually start spending some time together or go shop together. All of those things, once you put it on a weekly planner, automatically makes you so much more productive, because it's on the fridge. You're going to go to the fridge a couple of times a day if you're anything like me. So you're going to see that weekly planner, you're going to keep it updated, and it's going to give you something solid that's already planned for this weekend. And that's what I love about it. All the digital calendars in the world can't help you do that, in my opinion. It's once you write it down and it's in front of your face, and you feel the utter disappointment of wiping something off or putting a cross next to it saying that you didn't get to that task, feels so terrible. For me, I love checking things off that list. So that's the tip. Leon, absolutely enjoyed this episode today. I think we made it just in time.
Wonderful.
It was quite amazing. Straight to the point. I love this.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, then please reach out to us. Let us know if you enjoy the new form. The 20 to 30 minute episodes that we're going to do. We look forward to hearing from you. I can't wait for us to get into this season, Leon. There's so much great content that's going to come your way. So until next time, this is me signing off, Mono.
This was your boy, Leon. I really enjoyed this as well. Like Marty said, we've got a massive list of episodes and ideas. We really went through a 2-month phase, not completely off the podcasting. We actually spent some time thinking about ideas to improve it and building up a nice regime of episodes and things that's going to come. So hopefully you enjoyed this new format of 30 minutes. I'm signing off, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining. Cheers.
What's up, guys and girls? If you've derived some great value from our show thus far, please take a second to rate and review us on the platform that you're tuned in on. This will really help us to grow the show and reach more and more people, to spread the positivity and change more and more lives. So it will literally just take you a second to rate and review us, and who knows, perhaps you could directly be responsible for changing someone's life today. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Until then, cheers.